Dave, and he's been our National Advisory Triathlon Coach since the inception of our triathlon program in 1999. He's a great friend to the Human Lymphoma Society and team training. I'd like to welcome Dave Scott.
Thank you, Donna. I noticed that Chuck nimbly jumped up on the stage with that suit on and commented about his attire that he's wearing this evening. I kind of represent the working class, Chuck. The athletes. Maybe we should try that race next year. What do you guys think? I'd also like to comment, I think Robert from Deloitte, we all noticed that you were 51 years of age because it's on your calf. When you jumped up there, and you probably knocked off a couple hours of your race if you start shaving those legs. Most triathletes do that. They don't have a stitch of body hair on their body, so you just want to be prepared. So you're on your way, and I commend Deloitte for being such a great promoter of LMS. Anyway, I have always an opportunity, wonderful opportunities to speak to the group when I come to these events, and certainly the Nations Tri has been right at the top of the echelon of events that I've traveled to around the world. And Chuck and his team have done really an incredible job, and as he said yesterday, and I can attest to it, as a spectator who runs around and watches a lot of the team and trainers, and I will be out there tomorrow cheering you on. He does a remarkable job, his staff does a remarkable job. So rest assured tonight that you're going to be in great hands tomorrow. Tonight, Donna had mentioned as I finished up this afternoon chatting with you out by the Potomac about regarding the swim and how to get through the transitions on the bike and the run, that if I could keep my speech to about 5 minutes tonight, that would be appropriate. And I thought I'd go for a couple hours. Since I'm up here tonight, I've got a lot of things to cover. No, I'm going to just hit on a few things. One that is very, very close to me, as close as you can possibly get. I've been involved with the organization since 1999 and have seen a number of athletes come up here, and mentors and supporters and family members that have been afflicted with cancer and blood cancers, and some great success stories, and some that we've seen some of our family members pass away. And I had a sister and still have a sister that came down with ovarian cancer about 9 weeks ago. Unfortunately, it was in stage 1, and they were able to arrest it right away. And for some reason, after about 11 years and hearing all these stories and not really having a family member touched with cancer, I thought, well, I'm immune to it. It's not going to bother me directly. It's not going to have a family member. And I'll never forget when my sister called me. I was actually coaching my group, and she had called, and I had taken her into urgent care about 4 days before, and she was having some issues. And they said, you know, we found some funny items and want to do some further tests. And sure enough, she had ovarian cancer. And it was like a big hammer hitting me over the head as well. And we cried out in the car, and I assured her that it was going to be okay. And certainly after 11 years in this organization and seeing the development of blood cancer programs, fortunately she is okay. And 9 weeks ago she had a hysterectomy, and they took out lots of parts, and she seems to be functioning well. So, you know, I come here tonight with a great relief, and certainly recognize the tremendous merits that LLS has established worldwide for the support of cancer, and I feel dear to them in an indirect way. So tonight, not just mentioning my sister, I would like to just talk about a couple things that I think we all go through in life, and certainly recognize different fears that we have in life as certainly we approach this race tomorrow. And we can get confirmation and affirmation from our coaches and our mentors, and everything's fine. But there's a little bug that kind of ticks away in the back of our minds, and sometimes it turns that corner the wrong way. And so I'd just like to mention a few of the fears that we have, and maybe a few ways that you can sort of allay those fears and soften those fears. As Donna mentioned, a lot of us are kind of type A driven people, and we're notoriously known for either being on the verge of the fear of perfection or the fear of failure. And it's a fine line in defining success with those two. The three other common fears that we have are the fear of the unknown, which I'll talk about in a second, the fear of disapproval, and the fear of commitment. And those are kind of the big five. If we start at the bottom of those five, disapproval and commitment, I'm not going to question those for 1 minute. You've all made the commitment, and there's certainly no one in this room and no one in your family who is ever going to contend that you didn't give your wholehearted effort. We're certainly committed. But the unknown, interlaced with that fear of perfection, can become a giant anvil on your shoulder. We have a lot of unknowns tomorrow as you step in this race, certainly for the first timers that are out there. And I've always told athletes that I've coached, there's a few things that can kind of make those first steps a lot easier. And I think we kind of get sidetracked in the hoopla of the event, and it's just wonderful, the energy in here, and I love the energy. But I think we have to kind of bring it back to that sort of intrinsic self. You know, how can we derive energy for ourselves, and how can we formulate and maintain our plan and have a great day tomorrow? And I think the number one thing that you should recognize is that you never want to lose faith in yourself. Faith breeds and builds the highest probabilities of success. And if you keep that faith in yourself, it doesn't matter if you're coming in the last 10%, the last 25%, and frankly, our team and trainers, we come in the last 25%. We're all there, all that purple and green. We close out the races. We have athletes that are at 5 hours and 6 hours, and I've watched the winners cross the race, and I've watched the last person cross in many, many races over the last 35 years that I've been involved in this sport. And without a doubt, the first place is certainly elated, but the last place has equal enjoyment. And so I hope you never lose that faith within yourself. I had an opportunity when I was racing, and I raced throughout the 80s and won the 600 Ironmans during the 80s, and I had a kind of a hiatus between 1989, which I had come in second in an epic battle with my arch rival Mark Allen, and I had 5 years before I had come back in 1994, and during that 5-year period, I had 2 small children, or my wife did. And, actually, it's my ex-wife now. We love our children. I had two small boys at the time, and my life seemed pretty convoluted with a lot of other pressures, and I have a huge fear of perfection. I always want to feel as though when I would step up the starting line, anything less than excellence was failure. And if I didn't get to that goal, didn't attain that goal, and I really wasn't at that perfective level, then it was all or nothing. It was zero. And I went to a friend who was a sports psychologist, a close friend. We went to undergraduate school together, and he was teaching at Colorado University in Boulder, where I live. And he said, "Dave, why don't you come in and maybe I can chat with you about what's going on in your mind." And he had told me a couple great little cues, which I'll share with you. And he said, "I want you to just write down a list of things that are on that list right now that you really cannot control." And so I titled this list, "I need to do this, I should have done this, I've got to do this," and I made a very long list, and he looked at it and didn't comment on it. On the other side, he said, "I want you to write a list that says, I want to. What do you want to do?" And it was a very short list. Well, I want to do well in the race, I want to be happy with my marriage, I want to be happy with my kids, and it was a very short, concise list. And he sort of whittled through that first list, the should-haves, and he said, "You know what, for right now, a priority in your life is to really focus on what you can control. And a lot of the should-haves are already past, and so we can't dwell on them. Your perfectionistic lifestyle and demeanor and mental state is destructive." And he said, "I really want you to focus on what you can do." And it made it very, very easy for me to kind of say, well, listen, I have these 5 things, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I want to do. And I think tomorrow when you get into that race, it's not about pleasing the rest of the world. I would race to think I had to please everyone else, but a lot of pressure pressure was on Dave Scott, so every time I went up to the race, it was about everyone else. It really wasn't about me, and I kind of lost my focus. He also told me one statement, which I have used with a lot of athletes that I've coached and shared with numerous people at TNT events.